not necessarily be right, as she says, but because the unreasonable man presents an alternative opinion, he questions, and as Shaw puts it, the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable man wants the world to adapt to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. But apart from that, she did talk about angst, which could be one of the factors which could lead to movements, anger, even violence, sometimes misplaced, but then finally to change. And though she did begin by questioning the concept of the adult, that an adult could be adult to Mr. Raman, who is well versed in German, would know, because that's the word which comes from the German. But it's not as if the youth are always right too. There are many kinds of youth. I would say that there are two kinds of youth. One is the wise, the other is the otherwise. So there are two kinds of youth. She also said that the youth questions fixed opinions, but sometimes they're also dismissive. So you need patience. And this Facebook generation that Dharniva had spoken of, this is also important, that somehow we are missing the wood for the trees. This is a criticism or a critique, while accepting what Mayuri is saying, that it is the youth which is the future, and because they are not always easily influenced, that he could even combine with the elders and they could provide that force to create change. I would say the youth needs to be patient and sometimes hear out the other opinion, the other voice, the voice of the other, as Derrida puts it, the voice of the child, the voice of the woman, the voice of the old man. Perhaps that's required. Thank you, Mayuri. That was a polemical speech. That's what she wants, questioning, as Socrates said, polemics. Thank you. And now move on to Scottish Church Collegiate Schools or Scottish Church Collegiate College, Somo Shekhar Gangopadhyay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please pardon my voice, I have been a little under the weather, as it seems, but picking up from where Mayuri has left, I seem to agree more with her than with the remarks of Tarunima or our honorable moderator, when he believes that youth should be patient and that we should need to listen. From a very early age, whenever I hear of a motion something like this, that the role of youth in shaping the future of a country, I'm inevitably reminded of a very skinny and sickly president of the United States of America, John F. Kennedy, probably the only president who could have influenced Republicans to vote for the Democrats, saying his famous lines during the presidential oath, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." And that happens to be the crux on the basis of which I base my argument. I have also been from a very early age a fan of a gentleman called Ernesto Che Guevara, and two books are very close to my heart. One is the Motorcycle Diaries and the Bolivian Diaries. And I do believe that the sense of uncontrolled energy that Mayuri was talking about, that the youth brings with itself to challenge the established order, is necessary. I'm not saying that it's always correct, or maybe the idea is correct, but I do believe that at an early age, when people do have this kind of an energy to go forward with the country, to deal with the issues, they are not corrupted. They are not corrupted in belief, they are not corrupted in ideals, they are not corrupted with selfish obligations and intentions, and that is what being young is all about. For me, youth is not just a number. I believe that if Jim Morrison lived even to this day, he would not have been called what by the terms of age would be young, but he would perhaps be the youngest person alive in this planet. Same goes with all of the icons of youth, as we call them. People, it's not a mere matter of age, but a matter of perception. And that perception of youth matters in shaping the future of our nation. And I believe that this young perception is probably a perception of just doing it. Doing it for the sake of it. As Oscar Wilde would put it, art for art's sake. That is what youth is all about. And at times this innovation is necessary, at times this juncture of energy is absolutely necessary in order to give a guidance to society at large, whether it be in terms of politics, whether it be in terms of economics, whether it be in terms of innovation. It is this ability to think outside the box, or perhaps to think outside everything else that matters. One example that I am thinking of right now is perhaps that of Steve Jobs. You know, when Steve Jobs first designed the Apple iPhone, he didn't know what he was doing. He was told by a lot of people that the technology that he had at that point of time, there was nothing known as applications at that point of time. There were nothing known as virtual video calling from your handset devices at that point of time. But he said that, you know, let's make a device and everything else will fall in place. Let's do it. And that is how the whole innovation or the idea of the iPhone was created, and then it shaped an entire economic, social, and even entrepreneurial sector as we see it right now. I have a lot of faith on the youth. I do believe that it takes a lot of courage to stand up to authority, and it is important and imperative to stand up to authority, because we must, as George Orwell puts it in his novel 1984, we should question everything. Otherwise we fall prey to the big brother. You know, we are always told that this is not right and this is not correct, or perhaps, as our moderator put it, you know, you are either wise or otherwise. But it is this judgment that we must stand against. You know, who is an individual to tell us whether we are wise or we are not wise? We will follow what we believe in, and we will follow our dreams, and that is how the whole creation, that is how the whole energy of creation comes into being. And just to put it in context, I would like to end my deliberation with a quote from Batman, because I believe that you can quote Batman in every problem of life and you come up with concrete solutions. You know, in Batman they say chaos isn't a pit, it's a ladder. And I do believe that it is the ladder that the youth have been using to climb, whether it be in terms of politics, whether it be in terms of society, whether it be in terms of economics or innovation. And this chaotic energy of the youth is what has shaped the future and will continue to shape the future, even for the generations to come. And I guess I would like to end my deliberation on that note. Thank you so much.
You must pardon my debater persona getting the better of me, but I need to really get into this speech, you know, in a serious manner. When Christopher Columbus decided to go somewhere, he didn't know where he had to go to. When he was traveling, he still didn't know where he was going. And when he reached there, he still didn't know where he had reached. Shomoshekar's, what he calls deliberation, I would say that it's less than a deliberation, more of a debate which is contained within deliberation, reminds me of Columbus. For many reasons. First of all, on the one hand, he has faith, he has belief, and he has all those subjective virtues which he extolled. On the other hand, he will not have anyone pass judgment. How do you reconcile that? So he is in fact oxymoronic. And I'm not separating the two words at all, I'm taking it as a part of speech. Secondly, you will think out of the box, therefore you are thinking. You are using your cerebral persona. So aren't you actually using your faculties? And what do you understand by patience? Patience doesn't mean waiting for Godot, like we were waiting before this debate. Patience means giving the other man his due. Questioning means listening to the person before questioning. This is very important. When you question, you must know what to question and who to question. For that, you need to listen to the person. And he said that just do it. That would be a perfect ad for Nike, but it might not be the right thing for the country, you know. If you just do it in Victoria Memorial right here, it might not be the right thing, and Mr. Raman would probably object. So what you need to understand is that you have to temper your inner angst, your violence, your uncontrolled energy with a cerebral veneer, as Che Guevara did, as John F. Kennedy did. Don't think he didn't strategize. Even his Ich bin ein Berliner was something that was well thought out. Sometimes the well thought out seems like emotional outpouring, carefully careless, as you said. Steve Jobs definitely had the wherewithal to actually create. It wasn't just out of just any box. Otherwise, you've got a box, not a computer. Finally, I would say that I do believe that faith, belief, courage, these are important elements, as Shoma Shekhar pointed out, and it is indeed important to have force, to create a chaos that can be a ladder, but along with the heart, there's also the head. The question is, the heart has its reasons, which reason doesn't know. So, thank you, Shoma Shekhar, and we now move on to the speaker from Sri Shikshanathan College, Prakriti Rudra.
A very good evening to all of you present here. Any discussion on youth necessarily reminds me of a typical family gathering, and I think everyone sitting here has faced this once or twice in their lives, where the discussion of youth somehow always drags down to this one elderly person in your family continuously bashing the younger generation. And all you can do is sit there awkwardly, stare at the floor or at your phone, and just hope that things don't take a turn for the worse. Now, I would say these people are very wrong in their approach, but I wouldn't say that they are right either. Now, what we all need to understand is the conditions that the current generation in power grew up in and the conditions that the current youth is growing up in are vastly different. And this is primarily why their perspectives on life and the world are different. And if we have to ensure any effective progress, we have to come to a middle ground between these two perspectives and work together. Now, that being said, the youth today, in order to become, or rather in order to have a very strong say in where the nation is headed, needs to have proper guidance as well as education. Now, the literacy rate of our country is around 75%, which is way below the global 84 or 85. But we can say that with the efforts of the government and with various organizations like Teach for India, TRI, the people who involve the youth in educating the lesser privileged, we can say that the adult literacy rate of 90.2% of India is probably going to go higher. Now, as the adults or the elderly generation, I feel the people should have a duty, or rather owe it to the younger generation to teach them how to think and not what to think. I think that is very important. Instead of shoving your opinion down the throat of a younger person, you should teach them to question, teach them to ask questions, teach them to research, teach them that before forming an opinion, know why you're having that opinion in the first place. Today's youth has never really shied away from politics or from opinions. I think it's very evident with social media outbursts and other rants of people here and there that the youth today has learned to question. If we are talking about Brexit, we can see that the demographic of the people who voted UK to remain in the European Union majorly consisted of younger people. And to a certain extent, after the results of Brexit were announced, somewhere it's almost as though the older generation let down this younger generation that believed that a society cannot be founded on the basis of xenophobia. You cannot believe that other people do not have a right to the land that you live in. You cannot discriminate against people on the basis of their skin color, their nationality, their religion. We can also talk about how in USA, the younger generation was very vocal in criticizing President-elect Donald Trump's policies and his various ways of making fun of the people who do not enjoy the same privilege in life that he does. Now, I believe with proper guidance and when these youth are given proper voice, I think we can expect a world in the future, a world that would believe that love trumps hate, a world that would believe in inclusive policies and not mere segregation. Coming to the elephant in the Western Quadrangle, social media is something I think the youth has been both criticized upon and praised. Now what I can say is if you have to take away anything from this, take away the fact that the youth have learned to utilize the internet properly. They have founded startups, they are generating revenues, People are blogging, people are vlogging. In fact, talk about Syria, how after Aleppo had fallen, millions took to their social media accounts to tell the world that their life is no longer the life that they saw it was. And all I can say as a member of the younger generation today is that right now is probably the youngest I'll ever be and the oldest I've ever been. And all I can ask is for the elder generation to give us a chance and for us to give them a chance and collaborate together. Because only when we collaborate together will we come to progress that actually amounts to something. And I believe that is how all of us are really crucial in shaping our country's history. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have a little more applause? I know it's the afternoon and the embers of the house are gradually dying down, but it's not the time to get soporific. So please clap more enthusiastically. After all, we're talking about enthusiasm and youth. Now, Prakriti, thank you very much. You're saying that the adults could actually hand out pointers on how to think, but not on what to think. And you also believe that you, in a sense, question nationalism in your deliberation, because this is what Tagore also did. That why these boundaries? It's only people who have sort of claimed to have geographical boundaries. So anyone is allowed to live anywhere. That's the kind of internationalism that Tagore spoke of, and Einstein spoke of, and Hollande spoke of. And still we have a jingoistic America and a racist India. And that's the sad part of it. But I'm sure the youth is going to change this. That it's going to be more inclusive. And since we have such a great plural country with so many multifarious cultures where we understand, and even if we don't understand and interpret, we appreciate the music from the south if you're from the north. This is the place where it has to start. And that's where the youth really come in. And they're going to question and bring plurality back as it should be, not just in India, but in the world. Because India is not just India. India is the world, and the world is India. And finally, of course, you spoke of social media, which is, on the one hand, like riding a tiger. And we have this famous Tamil proverb, as Mr. Raman knows, that when you drive a tiger, what you have to do. The other hand, you can tame the forces of the SO tiger as it was tamed in the 60s. It was one of the great multinationals, which also helped produce a film by Ray called Two. And the other is the positive side of it. We've had an Egyptian president deposed because of FB, because people wrote there. But we've also had a lot of rubbish on that channel, so we have to, glean the grain from the chaff, be responsible, use it, harness it, get revenue, as you said, but also it could be a great cultural platform. It could be a great place for social and cultural intercourse. So thank you for your deliberation. I now move on to Shalini Sinha, Jadavpur University.
Hello everyone, I'm Shalini and we are here discussing on the role of youth in today's, in shaping the future. Well, I think it's high time now. We need the energy. We need the energy for the change. And I don't know why people there's a debate over why youth should be given or should not be given any responsibility. Because there's no there shouldn't be any biased decision or anything, any difference in the thought that youth, they are the only people to carry the legacy forward. And the energy, the enthusiasm that youths have, I think that is only needed for the development of the society as a whole, for the social cohesion and for the political development as well. We need that bubbling enthusiasm. Yeah, and that's correct that people say that you need to have the experience also, but obviously it counts, like experience counts, but what I think is that when you have to do something or when you want to do something, it's not like if if you think so much, you most of the time it's like the thinking too much, it affects what you're doing. So you just have that courage and the thinking in mind that okay, yes, I have to do it and I'll do it. So just do it. So that is the only thing, and that is needed in today's world for the overall development. That is the only thing. And moreover, I just want to say that people are saying here like you first have to like you have to teach them. So I don't think like how to think and what to think. There's no question about it. Everyone, they have their right what to do, what not to do, and it's not that everyone like their beliefs and what they think matches. That's the only thing. It's not that everything people have differences, and when like if you have the difference and if you now if you divide it, or if you want to win on the basis of like okay, I'm quite older than you, I know better than you, like my experience counts. So it's not like every time that is the thing that is needed. At times the energy only is enough to do the things to move forward. And the most important thing that is for India, obviously the country with lots of variations, lots of different people, different ideas. We really need the changes here. And the most important thing is here the youth underplayed in politics. Like it's a fact. So that is the area where we need to excel more for the changes as well. Like we had so many options, but I don't know. Obviously, because of so many reasons, they failed. So that is the thing. That is the area where we need to perform well. Otherwise, we are performing well. We are doing well. The changes are here, and everyone should appreciate that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Shalini. I think the main word in your speech was energy. That was the central focus. And of course, you talked about changes. And one would have liked to hear a little more concrete philosophizing or a logical building up of an argument as to how exactly this energy can be channelized in this world and how the youth can do that, because this is National